Yes Have Some podcast is excited to tell our listeners about Dr. Pepper and the brand new collectible cans from Spider-Man Far From Home. Collectors, it's time to make that decision. Are you going to drink these Dr. Peppers or are you going to leave them mint in package? Either way, you got to collect all 5 cans available now, including the new limited time flavor Dr. Pepper Dark Berry, featuring Mysterio. Get your hands on all 5 of the new Spider-Man Far From Home cans from Dr. Pepper, available at Walmart.
Jurassic Park. Now playing the PS7.
Ecto goggles with Ecto Popper, Neutrona Blaster, and Water Zapper, each sold separately.
From the corner penthouse of Spook Central all the way to Star Killer Base, this is Yes Have Some podcast.
Do I? Yes, have some. Yes, have some.
You know, they told me you people were conceited douchebags.
The only place in the multiverse where you can love the book, hate the movie, but still buy all the toys.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a Jedi Master.
What?
Please remember to hold on to your butts and get ready to get stressed. With your hosts, Craig Goldberg, Abigail Gardner, and Jacob Walsh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yes Have Some podcast. Episode 150 is here. It is a milestone. I did not think we would ever make it. And boy, what are you looking at me like that for?
Not.
Abby's giving me the weirdest
Only
look.
150?
Only 150?
Jesus.
I think we should be like partying right now.
This is the episode for the 150 episode. I think as a special thing, this should be Craig's entire episode in Dr. Evil.
Oh, that was promised to us both, Jake. I forgot.
We had a fun weekend. And
Yeah.
over the weekend, we all got together. We had some fun. And one of my proclamations was that eventually I would do an entire episode as Dr. Evil. Now, is it going to be this week? It can't be because we just did a 45-minute interview. Okay?
Call him back.
Call him back to it in Dr. Evil. Whole thing. Just keep telling him to zip it.
Just dub your speaking. Just dub it.
I can't. So we just...
You must not be very good.
Well,
Yeah, you're going to have to work harder. I don't know how we have 150 episodes of the show.
Listen, Jake. You think I'm a freaking moron? That's not even good. What am I doing with my life?
Is.
Hey, could you talk into the microphone?
Hey, we only have one microphone. Why don't you get me another one?
Well, there's technical difficulties. 150
Technically,
episodes.
we're podcasting from the couch today instead of from the toy room.
150 episodes. We're like, you know what? Let's just do it. In
150? Fuck it.
Hey, as I was about to hit the record button, Jake, under his breath, goes, "What are we talking about today?" Let me look at this rundown.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all.
We're having a good time.
So
Thanks for listening, everybody, for all these episodes, by the way. We appreciate you and love you. And this is just me saying thanks. So,
before we go any further, I do want to say that after the initial part of the episode here, we do have an interview with John Campopiano and Ryan Grulich. They are the writers and directors of a brand new short film called Georgie. It is based in the It universe. It is very cool. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that in more detail a little bit later with them. I do want to let everybody know that it premieres exclusively on Fangoria and Fangoria's social media channels on June 10th. Everybody will be able to check it out. We got an early copy. Mm-hmm. Not going to lie. Feeling pretty privileged about that.
like it. Exclusivity.
But they're great. I really enjoyed our conversation with them. And John is actually directing the documentary on the original 1990 It miniseries that will be released later this year. And I know we've talked about him before in that documentary specifically. So Georgie's coming out here in a couple weeks, and we talked to them, almost an hour. It was good. Yeah. It was good stuff. I enjoyed it. I don't want to speak for the gang here. Jake, did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. There was a lot of good chit chatting and
did you learn anything?
Some good insight.
Yeah, dude.
Did you learn?
Did I learn? I did. I learned. and I don't, learning's not always fun, Craig.
Dude.
But it can be.
But it was fun tonight.
I'm going to read the book Scuffy the Tugboat, and I learned about that as per our conversation with these guys. And I had a really fun time talking with them. I hope they can come back and just chat about horror movies in general and whatever their future projects are, because they, you know what, they can hang. They're pretty cool. Anyone who has like that many VHS tapes in their collection of one movie, I respect. So, because so do we.
So, real quick, Jake, you were up here this weekend. We had some fun. You were. I remember seeing you. I remember it.
Okay.
Well,
can't
so,
prove it.
and Zach Myers, our good friend, was also with us.
Yeah.
He spent the whole day. We like to have these days where we get an honorary member of YHS and we bring them along.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Their Make-A-Wish Day.
Oh my
God. Do we have to cut that?
No. It's
Okay,
funny.
we're doing it. Good.
I love that.
People just... It's an opportunity for us to hang out with friends.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we did this weekend. It was
Because
fun.
they're dying.
Or Zach is a good friend of ours and he wanted to go to the movies with us.
No.
I don't
It was
know
an
where that came
opportunity.
from.
It was an opportunity for him because people don't realize.
Dude, he helped us actually that day.
John Yerkeba takes his title as the unofficial official member, fourth member of Yes Have Some Podcast.
Top fan.
Very seriously. And I don't know. There's a couple other people trying to encroach on his territory there.
You better watch out.
So real quick, I did want to let everybody know, I want to plug the YouTube channel. We've been putting up a lot more YouTube content. We just released a new video today. It is the Yes Have Some Ghostbusters Fan Fest photo op practice session. And that's exactly what you think it is.
It's just what it sounds like.
It's a video.
It's something.
It's out there.
I like it.
People can search my name and find that.
Yeah.
Jake, how are you going to feel when like a cousin you haven't seen in a long time?
I'm hoping that the way my mom discovers the podcast is through that video.
I love that your mom. Okay.
Cheese.
So there was, before we talk about our weekend with Zach,
Let's talk about our moms.
there was an idea going around group therapy to have a Freaky Friday.
That was my idea.
Oh, will you talk about it?
Yes. Well, because there was a comment thread talking about getting John's mom on the show.
John Yerkeba's
mom.
Because she's like, reads Stephen King.
Because she's dope. So I wanted to have an episode where we have all of our moms stand in for us, like Freaky Friday. And I just, as I think more and more about it, I think it would be one of the best things ever.
My lips are getting numb just thinking about it. It would be so bad.
Yeah. No.
What would it be like? You know what?
My mom probably just wouldn't talk. She would just sit there.
Okay.
She would have nothing to say.
So
My mom would, I hope she's not listening, probably nervously talk the entire time. So,
yeah.
Y'all
My mom
I
would
get
be
it.
about 12 Miller Lights in before calling up. Listen, I
love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
This is our Mother's Day episode. Well, also, you know what's funny? If John Yerkeba's mom was on, it would be the same dynamic with our three moms.
Uh-huh.
She would just school everybody with much more knowledge and information.
And just being generally cooler.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, God, I love it. So
Freaky Friday, it's coming up.
we're going to have to hit about 500 patrons before we...
Y'all are going to have to pay a lot of money to get Elaine Gardner on the show.
Your mom would just be giving, like, cooking recipes.
She would totally. She'd tell you how to make a bundt cake.
So, listen, let's talk about our weekend. We all went and saw... They've been doing these 80th anniversary screenings for Batman, and we went and saw Batman Forever, which I know was important for Abby, because it is one of your favorite movies.
Yeah. I like that it's important for
It's
Abby.
important.
For everyone else, it's like, whatever. But yeah, no, it was important. And I came out... Well, for one, I just want to point out, when we walked out of the movie, Jake said, guys... That's a good movie, which was like a personal win for me, and it made me very happy. But yeah, like I literally I watched this movie for the very first time, probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I loved it so much that first time I saw it.
No, it has to be longer than that.
It had to be, because I did
Probably
a costume.
7 years ago.
Yeah, because I've been
comes a
sober.
boring
I've been
conversation.
sober for 6 years, and so this was like back in the beginning. Okay, cool backstory. Fact is, when I first watched Batman Forever, I remember thinking, "Oh, I've never seen this." I used to want to see it as a kid. It was very enticing. I loved all the colors and the commercials and the posters and advertisements for it. So when I got to see it as an adult, I was like, this is kind of good. Like, this is actually, like, got merit to it. And when I saw it on the big screen with you guys, that feeling was reaffirmed, like, to see Nicole Kidman. I'm like, she's legitimately, like, a likable character. She's tough. She's badass. Yeah, there's some campy moments throughout the movie, but it, like, is evocative of the old Batman, like, TV series and the movie, the 60s movie. And so I walked out of the theater feeling just like Jake, like, fuck, it's a good movie, and I'm glad I saw it with my friends.
And I think if you haven't watched Batman Forever in a long time, a lot of people kind of loop it in with Batman and Robin. It's
the baby that gets thrown out with the bathwater.
Yes, it's 100% better than Batman and Robin. It's fun, and Jake, you can speak to this because we were talking about it all weekend. Jim Carrey is on fire in that movie.
The movie is like, yeah, it is campy and silly, but it's so funny. Like, it had been a very long time since I've seen it too, but just watching it in the theater and seeing like things that maybe weren't meant to be funny, but don't like, they're things that they're not things that you see and like you hold against the movie. You're like, that's probably not supposed to be funny, but it's funny. And also there's this scene that I think all of us realized was happening for as many times as however many of like we've watched this movie. We're sitting in the theater, and I think we all realized something at the same time we did not know about this movie. And there is a scene where the Riddler is like in normal clothes. They're like unveiling, the box, and he's in a suit, and he says like, "How's my mole?" And that always just seemed like a weird, like, okay, he's got a mole, whatever. But then you realize that's a fake mole, and he's trying to look exactly like Bruce Wayne, and he's wearing the same tuxedo as Bruce Wayne. And this is I could not stop laughing at this. Bruce Wayne puts his glasses on, and then the Riddler puts on the exact same glasses, and then, like, takes them off exactly when Bruce Wayne takes his glasses off. And I never realized that was going on. And it's ridiculous, and it's just so good. Jim Carrey is so funny.
Yeah.
So that's
and you wouldn't notice it unless it was like that big in front of you because
the
like
entire
all
four of us. Zach loves Batman Forever. Like, he knows he never realized it before. It was all dawning on us at the same time. I talked to a friend outside of our group who also loves that movie. His name's William Billy Hennis.
Oh, okay, I know him. Okay.
And I said, hey, Batman Forever, have you ever noticed this thing in the scene where they're debuting the new Nigma tech that, like, Jim Carrey is perfectly emulating every piece of clothing? Like, his hair is the exact same as Val Kilmer's. Like, as a kid, I just thought, like, the logic of watching it as a kid was always like, oh, he's rich now. He just has like a better haircut.
No, but it's like he's obsessed with him, which furthers the whole like psychological exploration of that movie and people's like scarred psyche and shit, which I think is kind of interesting.
I always thought for that scene, he's just got a disguise on because you can't. I remember like when I first saw, because he can't be the Riddler right there. I when I was really young, it confused me. I was like, well, how's his hair not red right here? I was like, how's he got longer hair here than he did one scene ago? And as I watched it as a little, I just was like, oh, it's a disguise because he's public.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it was great. So a lot of fun and good seeing Zach and good hanging out and go to the movies. And
it was fun to sit in a theater that was mostly empty and be able to like
it was just us.
We could like make jokes like MST3K and do our own little lampooning.
Dude, there's nothing to lampoon. The movie's perfect.
Yeah, except for that Dick Grayson is obviously 30 and child services is not looking for him.
Caffeine will kill you. All right. So we saw Batman Forever. It's always cool to see an older movie on the big screen. I kept saying that. Guys, got to see it on the big screen.
The big screen.
It's the big screen. And then, we did the video. So check out our YouTube channel and search Yes Have Some on YouTube, and you'll find all of those videos. Mm-hmm. And before we go any further, I did want to also mention very quickly Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our patrons, all the new folks who have signed up. Bonus episodes, 2 to 3 bonus episodes a month. All you got to do to get in on those is go to patreon.com/yeshavesome. You put your $5 down, you get immediate access to the backlog, okay? All of our archived episodes, and then we've got 2 new bonus episodes.
I thought we were going to call that the YHS Vault.
Yes, the YHS Vault.
Okay.
And sometimes we lock the vault. Sometimes we go back into the vault. All right. Sometimes Beauty and the Beast just isn't going to be available. Okay. So thank you to all of our supporters. It really means the world to us. Helps us pay for the website hosting and the podcast hosting and all that sorts of stuff. So if you want to get in on that, it is patreon.com/yeshafesome. Okay. So we want to cover some Ghostbusters news before we get to...
Hey, hold on. Before we do that, can we just acknowledge really quick that we got a package in the mail over the weekend?
Yes!
And,
We got
and
a
say
couple
thank
packages.
you to
Hey, first of all,
Ectomods.
You read
Abigail.
our itinerary, Jake, sorry, not Jake, but Craig, I'm getting mad at. For YHS episode 50, the first two things...
This is not episode 50. That's why I was
150.
confused.
The first two things I wrote, thank Adam Sloman and thank Ectomods.
All right, go.
So
thank
you guys for sending us such badass shit in the mail. It was really cool, actually. On this weekend, like we were just saying, we all hung out. Monday morning, Jake was still here. We woke up, opened the door, front porch. There was a package, a big package, which was this one from Ectomods?
From Canada.
From Canada. Oh my God. It was the 7-Eleven exclusive giant ass mugs and collectible Ghostbusters cups that you can fill with slushies if you have a 7-Eleven near you.
Slurpees.
Slurpees or Dr. Pepper. Am I doing a Dr. Evil?
They're freaking Slurpees, Scott.
Slurpees.
Why don't you continue? We opened them up. It was awesome. And we also got some prints in the mail.
I like Slurpees because they're evil.
They'll give you a brain freeze. Okay.
Thank you so much. Ectomods on Instagram. Very cool Instagram account. Customizes Ectomobiles and all sorts of cool stuff. And he was kind enough to send us those... he traveled. He's from Canada, but he had to go to like a different part of Canada to get the 7-Eleven stuff, which is only available in Canada. You cannot get the 7-Eleven Slurpee mugs for Ghostbusters in America. In fact, the official Ghostbusters account on Twitter posted after the Game of Thrones coffee cup thing from a couple weeks ago. It said something along the lines of like, go to Westeros for Starbucks coffee cups and go to Canada for 7-Eleven Ghostbusters Slurpees. Something like that.
Dude, I wish that there was that giant 100-ounce mug in the scene from Game of Thrones just on a table.
I want to fill that 100-ounce mug up with something.
Yeah, me too. I was like, do I have to check this when I go on the airplane and take it to LA?
No, it's just you need it for medical
Dude, I'm
reasons.
going to pack things in it.
So thank you so much to Ectomods, and also thank you to YHS listener and group therapists.
Therapy.
No.
Ember.
No, he's not a therapist. We are the therapists.
He is our client.
He's a patient.
Okay. I think client is the proper term.
No, patient.
I'm pretty... Okay, patron.
Patient.
What? Patient.
Adam Sloman. Thank you, Adam, who sent us some UK exclusive Pet Cemetery theater posters that are very cool. And he was nice enough. And he's the one who sent you a couple weeks ago your bumper sticker for Pike High Tech.
Oh my God. R.I.P. I still have the sticker, don't have the car.
Yes.
But I'm getting a new car next week, everybody.
But
That's
we did get
fun.
insurance for the sticker.
Yes.
So,
Sticker remains.
Listen, we get packages from the UK, Canada. Our international fan base is really taking care of us.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake, I know you were excited to bring home your new Slurpee cups to Valdosta.
Yeah, dude, I was, except I'm having that dumb little thing where I'm like, oh, this exclusive 100, ounce. Do I want to open the plastic on this? Am I just going to leave it and put it on a shelf? Do I want to drink out of this?
Open
Tear
it
this
up.
plastic off? Isn't that the stupidest thing ever?
It's so dumb. And I had the
it
same
really
thought.
controls my life. Opening packages is really like the biggest anxiety that I have.
You have to figure out...
Anything it's just a mug. And it's just like a bad piece of plastic, and I'm having like trouble deciding if I want to tear this plastic off it.
Abby became disconnected.
I just lost it. I was like, no, what is Jake saying? You have to figure out if it will bring you more joy to open it or more joy to look at it on the shelf.
I don't know.
I feel like you should open it.
I
Because I want to
I
open mine.
kind of want to. I like how obnoxiously big it is, and I want to be seen carrying it around.
Dude, I want to
and
eat soup out of it. Dude,
that's
wonton.
a good idea.
Let's
you
fill it with wonton.
You could probably just one wonton though.
Just like one wonton.
One wonton and 100 ounces of broth. Okay.
Hey, speaking of wontons, does anybody know who Digital Wonton is yet?
No.
Is that still
Digital Wonton has not revealed themselves yet.
They'll like carry on full conversations with us in a DM.
Digital Wonton asked if they could be an admin for group therapy, and I was like,
Not if we don't know who you are.
You have to be a real person to admin. No. Well, we'll learn soon enough. They did say they go to Dragon Con. So
Okay.
That's easy.
one clue. Hey, maybe Digital Wonton if you're out there. Okay. I'm about to do it. Ready?
Okay.
Ready? Shh, everybody quiet. Ready? I'm trying to think of a riddle.
Okay. Oh.
For Batman Forever.
Like,
and I
you can do
can't.
Dr. Evil?
The numbers on my face, 1 through 12, are a clock. It's a clock.
Okay.
If Digital Wonton is out there.
At the stroke of midnight on the ground floor of the Marriott.
No.
Okay.
No. I want
Something's gonna happen.
I want one clue a week in the.
Why did you not like mine?
Because I didn't think of it.
Okay. I didn't even get to finish.
Go on, finish.
Oh, I don't have anything.
Okay, there it goes.
Okay.
This is a funny episode so far. I'm having fun. One clue a week into the Yes Have Some Instagram direct message. Slide into our DMs and give us a clue. And then we will eventually figure out who Digital Wonton is.
Yeah, we'll do an unmasking at midnight on the ground floor of the Marriott.
We need to. Well, let's challenge Digital Wonton to like a mask match. You know, if they lose, they lose their mask.
Oh, what do
God.
we lose if we
We'll
lose?
do a real Rey Mysterio thing here. Well, nothing.
I love
We
this. I'm imagining us all hanging out, but Digital Wonton like puts up a YouTube video where we're all watching it at the same time.
No,
it's kind of like Batman.
It's like the Secrets of Magic Unveiled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the old show on NBC.
Yeah.
Watch the masked man as he reveals how his assistant was cut open with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, guys, we're going to really learn some stuff here. All right, cool. Guys, I got to bring this up. So, friend of the podcast, Dan Aykroyd, was on a podcast today. And I didn't even want to show you guys this in advance because I need a live reaction.
Okay.
So the podcast he was on is called Alien Nation, and it's hosted by a lady named Jo Wood. She's British, and I listened to the whole podcast. It was about 25 minutes. It was very entertaining, and it seems like they're friends somehow. They know each other. Their families know each other, but I laughed out loud 10 times listening to this podcast, and I pulled something, a piece of audio.
Oh, I felt like a muscle from laughing.
I pulled a muscle from laughing. No, I pulled a piece of audio, and I just want you guys to react to this. So to set this up, they're talking about abductions, alien abductions, and probing and things like that. Okay?
Will you please play Blink-182 before you play this clip? Will you add that in?
I will not.
Okay. What if people knew that these were real? Okay.
That's basically what this is.
Thank you.
All right, you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
It's about 30 seconds.
Cool.
And give us your reaction.
On the East River, sucked into an orange orb and plunged into the river.
Really? I wonder why they do that, though. I wonder what it is. What point is it of abducting anybody? Or what are they doing that for? I don't understand all that. Why, when they could just come talk to me if they wanted to. I mean...
Well, I think they're more interested in your ova and your femininity and your reproductive parts and maybe your DNA. You're a beautiful woman. They'd love to draw blood. They'd love to draw fluid. They'd love to impregnate you and plant and then give you a little hybrid baby. This is what they're up to here. A lot of them.
You heard it here, folks.
His knowledge of aliens is based on raunchy 80s movies and what aliens come down to do in those.
According to Dan Aykroyd, our personal Lord and Savior, at least some of the aliens are here
because they're straight up horny
to impregnate
Give you a baby.
So listen, okay, and I'll.
Well, I give it to them for being curious about the female reproductive system.
I just got 100% more excited for that paranormal panel.
Oh,
yeah, dude.
Listen,
FanFest.
So they go on. I want everybody to go listen to this interview. They go on to talk about hybrid alien babies. Dan Aykroyd then starts talking about his webbed toes and theorizes his how he has one eye that's a different color.
Wait, so do I. My thumbs are different sizes.
Does Dan Aykroyd think he's part alien?
I think so.
I am.
They talked about a lot of good stuff. There's an exact quote. He goes like, he's like, well, people aren't going to believe it until a lizard's up there shaking hands with Donald Trump. And he goes,
dude.
And then he goes, boy, that's going to be a hard deal to make with the aliens. Talk about a deal. So
I want his paranormal panel to start at like 8 a.m. and go to question mark and like just be all day at FanFest.
All day with Dan.
I am using my class 10 status. I'm using my whatever amount of time that I'm getting at a breakfast with Dan Aykroyd to ask him if I can see his web toes.
Yes.
Oh, we're seeing those toes. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna wear a shirt that just says, "We gonna see those toes."
Let me see those toes. We go see those toes. We go see those toes.
So, I just wanted to play that for you guys. And
dude, let's invite him to the pool.
Real quick.
Kick your shoes off.
Really good.
Yeah.
He's an X-Man.
Yeah.
Real quick, again.
And your femininity and your reproductive parts and maybe your DNA. You're a beautiful woman. They'd love to draw blood. They'd love to draw fluid. They'd love to impregnate you and plant and give you a little hybrid baby. This is what they're up to here. A lot of them.
Better not do it in Georgia.
Give you a little hybrid baby.
Or Alabama.
Georgia and Alabama do not have a hybrid baby.
Sorry, ladies.
You will be keeping that baby.
You better move.
So yeah, guys, this is my segue into talking about Ghostbusters Fan Fest. I am so excited. I really am. There were some announcements this week. There's a lot going on. Let's go ahead and talk about it. We'll be getting to the interview with John and Ryan here in just a few. Oh, weird. The only other guests we ever have, I guess John and Ryan are required names to be guests on Yes Have Some Podcast.
I felt super comfortable with them right off the bat because I was like, hey, I know these names.
I know John and Ryan.
I know these names. John.
So it was announced this week. We kind of got a little word maybe from a trusted source, the man himself, that he might be appearing at Ghostbusters Fan Fest. But Paul Feig, this is a little bit surprising, right?
Yeah.
Like he's going to be at Fan Fest. There's going to be a director's panel on the main stage with Paul Feig, Ivan Reitman, and Jason Reitman all talking about directing Ghostbusters, which is interesting because at the time of the panel, only two of them will have directed a Ghostbusters movie, with one upcoming. Jake, what was your reaction to this news?
I definitely do think it was a little. It seems like a tiny bit of weird news, but also like I think it's a good thing for sure. Like whether you like that movie or you dislike that movie, or you like that movie and then had a mental breakdown very slowly over the course of a couple of years and decided maybe you hate it. It's good for him to be there. He's a nice dude. He's a super good guy, and the fact that you're going to have every person who has directed, a Ghostbusters film on the stage at the same time, having a conversation together and interacting with the crowd like that's never going to happen again. Like that's cool. That's very good that he's going to be there. And it also, we cover everything. There's been a little bit of a lack of answer the call announcements for FanFest. So I think it's good that he's going to be there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just like in the effort of smoothing things over and putting stuff to rest and getting closure, I think that especially if they focus on keeping a sense of humor and like honesty and reality on vulnerability about the whole thing, like just be real about it. That could be really healing for the community. I know that people were joking.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, dude, let's bring my therapist. Let's all talk. I think it might be a good opportunity.
Adam Sloman?
No.
Oh, wait, he's not our therapist.
No, he's not a therapist. But yeah, I was surprised initially because I was like, oh, like, Paul Feig, okay, I thought there was a little bit of like controversy going on there, but it'll be good to see them all on stage together talking and for us to have like really good energy moving forward towards something. So I'm putting that behind us.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like no matter what, Answer the Call is part of Ghostbusters. Like compared to Star Wars, there's things in the Star Wars fandom that not everybody loves, but some people love a lot.
Yeah, they're called the prequels.
The prequels. There's people who still hate Return of the Jedi because they don't like Ewoks. So, like, Answer the Call is part of the Ghostbusters fandom. It's part of the community. It's basically the genesis of our podcast. It's also the reason why we're getting the new Ghostbusters movie that we're getting. So,
dude, I want a t-shirt that says I wouldn't be here without Answer the Call. Yes, have some podcast.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, we're like, that's not something we're doing.
You can have that. Sure.
Yeah, okay,
we'll make that for you.
I want one that says I would not be here without aliens extracting fluids and impregnating women to make hybrid babies. Well, a lot of them, it's what they're up to. I like that he's like a lot of them. Not all of them.
Well, he knows.
Also in the interview, he talks about aliens who travel here for sport. It's very funny.
He thinks like
Is
all
he talking?
aliens.
Wait, did he see Predator and he was like, "Oh, this is a documentary"?
No, he talks about their little ships, and they like to just come down. And he also talks about one time.
I think
he talks about an intergalactic war where there's some aliens here to protect the human race and some to harm us. It's great.
Yeah.
He covered a lot of ground in 25 minutes, and not one time did she ask anything about the new Ghostbusters movie. I was very upset. So, yeah, Paul Feig at FanFest. I think it's a good thing. I think it's interesting. I'll be interested to see how candid the conversation actually gets, because it's no secret that there was some back and forth struggle behind the scenes between Ghost Corps and Ivan and Paul Feig in the production. I don't think they're going to cover that ground, but that somebody's going to ask about the potential of a sequel. Like, I wonder if they're going to have like standard answers for that, or if Paul's just going to be like, "Oh, well, Ivan, what do you think?" Like,
I just officially got most excited for this panel strictly to see what questions are asked and to get kind of the feel for the audience and to see
there
how
will be no live Q&A during the director's panel.
You don't think
There's gonna be a question. Like, there's gonna be a question about the end of that movie referencing, Zool and where their talk of a crossover, all of that, and they're gonna have to explain themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fans would appreciate some good conversation. And listen, like, Dan Aykroyd said that Paul Feig's not allowed on the Sony lot, so
yeah,
just dude, barriers.
Talk about it.
Hey, break the barrier.
Oh my god!
What? It's the name of a board game. Keyword board. Listen,
Can we just kick out anybody who brings up the fact that the video game is the real third movie?
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second. No, I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. Listen, any announcements about FanFest, and this is the first official announcement of a panel that's happening. Like, we've talked with Lady Sarum from Wizard about the different panels that may or may not be happening at FanFest. So, any news is good news as far as FanFest goes, because we're a couple weeks away. Hopefully there's been some rumblings of more guests. I know that all the people on the Class 10 package, on the Class 10 packages, it says, "and more to be announced." And everyone's like, more? Please? Can we get more? So, yeah, I think it's good, though. Overall, I think it's a good thing for Paul Feig to be there. I think it would be weird to celebrate 35 years of Ghostbusters and have no representation from Answer the Call. Mm-hmm. Don't you guys think that would be weird?
Yeah, for sure. There's got to be something. It's like I've been surprised that there haven't been any other guests, from Answer the Call. But we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I wouldn't mind Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, me either. Or Tessa Thompson. She's not in Ghostbusters.
She's not in it, but I wouldn't mind her either.
Bring her on. I want to go to the Valkyrie panel. Anyways, so I just ride off with her on her horse.
Yeah.
And I leave FanFest.
To be that horse.
We go over that rainbow that's at the Sony lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
To
be that horse.
I like it.
All right, cool. I saw Endgame again yesterday. Still good. Moving on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Everybody's talking about it.
So, Bill Murray is at the Cannes Film Festival promoting his new film with Adam Driver called
Dead. The Dead.
The Dead Don't Die? The Dead Don't Bite. Somebody please look that up. We're very prepared.
Bill Murray.
Zombie movie.
Zombie? Oh, you're getting the Zombieland movie.
So Bill Murray did an interview with...
The Dead Don't Die.
See, I had it right. Nobody's ever really gone.
Nobody ever really dies.
IndieWire did this interview with Bill Murray where he talked pretty extensively about Ghostbusters, actually. And we covered it in our YouTube channel, and the quotes are everywhere. But basically, he was asked... it was weird. They were kind of having a general conversation about the Ghostbusters franchise. And he first talked about the financial aspects, about how Ghostbusters paid for his children's college, which it should have paid for that and a lot more, because it's one of the highest grossing comedies of all time. And he talked about, it was really cool. He talked specifically about, he was kind of drawing a contrast of like, you know, my love for the movie is not for Sony or for the corporations. And he told an anecdote. I'll read it in verbatim here because I don't want to butcher it. But he talked about his love for his coworkers and his collaborators. And he talked about how cool it was to work with really good people and good actors in Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, Andy Potts, Rick Moranis. And then he talked a little bit about how he appeared in the reboot and how he did that because
to not appear would be like to not support it, basically.
Yeah, he supports those SNL cast members and as collaborators and his peers, and he kind of thought, well, if I don't do this cameo, it could be read as, oh, Bill Murray doesn't support this movie. And then the comment that everybody's holding on to is where he said that if asked to do the new movie, he would do it. Now, we've been covering Ghostbusters 3 news for the last 3 years, and we've all individually been tracking Ghostbusters 3 news for like the last 30 years. I have never once seen Bill Murray in talks of a new Ghostbusters movie and whether or not he'll appear just go, yeah, I'll do it. It's never been that.
Right.
Like, Jake, you've told the story many times about your birthday and learning that Bill Murray was doing Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah.
So what was your reaction to seeing that quote?
I mean, Craig, there was a point this weekend where me and you were in the car and we were talking about FanFest and Ghostbusters 3 and all that. And at one point, our conversation became serious and we were like I looked over to you and I was like, do we think Bill Murray is going to be in this movie? You know, and like we had a conversation about it. And I think we came to the conclusion, no.
Yeah, we're like, nah.
No
way.
It doesn't. It's almost like reading that entire, article. It almost feels like a punch in the gut, like in the good way, because it's like Bill Murray, besides when Ghostbusters was coming out and he had to do, interviews, it's like he never talks about Ghostbusters, especially in that kind of a way, and to like read just him say all these great things about it and all these things he loves about it, and to kind of clear the air about a few things and to mention, the whole Sony thing and over the years not being in the movie and just like all of that, just everything, and saying like, yeah, I'll do it. It's like, so it felt like I was watching the trailer for the new Star Wars.
Right.
I was like reading it and I'm like, am I about to cry because Bill Murray just said he loves Dan Aykroyd? Or like, it's just like, it's weird because it's all really great. And you read that and you're like, oh, I guess he'll do the movie. But also I read that and I'm like, does this mean nobody's asked him already? Does this mean surely they would already know whether Bill Murray's in this movie? Does that mean this movie's written without Peter Venkman? And now the fact that they have to read that Bill Murray said he would do it means script changes? Because why would they not put him in it now? It turns into a little bit of a stressful thing.
It does. I like to think that it means that he's being super coy about it and that he's already in on it and that he's just hinting.
But if he is already in and he's being coy, don't you think they would be like, hey, Bill, please don't tell people that you would do the movie? Like,
but can you tell Bill Murray to do anything?
Well, that's
really?
the thing. Like,
and expect it?
So there's a couple things to take in here. So, Jake, I completely agree. And I'm not going to read I think everyone should just go read the article on IndieWire because it's really well done. We did a recap of it on YouTube. You can watch that as well. That's
how I learned about everything, was through your video, Craig. So thanks for making it.
There's an anecdote in there about shooting Ghostbusters and like 25 dudes in suits from Coca-Cola showing up on set, and he was just kind of talking about how like you could kind of smell the enemy, like when people don't belong on set. And he just tells a funny story about it. And what I really loved about it was like, Bill's getting older, right? And as you get older, a lot of people do tend to calm down a little bit and maybe don't take things quite as seriously. And not that I think Bill Murray doesn't take himself seriously, but if he is given a chance to go and do some work with some of his favorite collaborators from his career. Obviously not Harold Ramis. That would have been amazing. But like, he seems like he's game. But there's no way. So when Jason Reitman wrote this movie, like the first question that comes to mind is, well, how do you incorporate the original Ghostbusters? Who's going to be in it? Who's not? There's no way that they didn't have some sort of contingency for Venkman to be in the movie. Now, I'm of a couple different minds of it. He could be playing coy and just be like, yeah, if they asked me, I would do it. And maybe he comes out at FanFest and he's the star of the movie. Maybe it is just a cameo type of thing or a smaller role. Maybe they wrote a part in the movie for Venkman that could easily be lifted out if needed. But they still have it there. Now, one thing that was brought up today, I think Chris Stewart brought it up, is that we do know Bill Murray's about to shoot a movie with Sofia Coppola in New York. That's about to start filming. But we also know that the Ghostbusters production was moved back by about 3 weeks to the middle of July, and it's shooting from July to almost the end of October. So there's plenty of opportunity for Bill to be in the movie. Whether or not he does it will remain to be seen, but the fact that he's open about it is such a 180 from everything we saw from Bill Murray on David Letterman going, this is my nightmare, to, 10 years later saying...
super chill, like some perspective on life, kind of understanding that those may have been the best times of his actual life, and those are real friendships, and I think it's really, really heartening. Like Jake said, it's kind of a kick in the gut because it like releases a lot of emotions to think about him coming back in whatever capacity and being like, yeah, I'm here, I'm down for it.
And you really can't blame him because the one thing Bill Murray always said, there's a part of the article where he talks about people would go down on him.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, you mean the Yes Have Some podcast?
Different article. God damn it. Here comes the memes.
Us as the ghosts in the Fort Detmeyer scene. Oh, wait, that's Dan Aykroyd.
Detmeyer.
Detmeyer. You know what?
Mrs. Detmeyer.
Mrs. Detmeyer. Who's that?
That's from
It's from something.
This is Mrs. Doubtfire's ghost.
Okay.
There's a part in the article where he talks about how people would be kind of getting on him over the years for not restructuring his deal from 1984 and kind of preventing, a new Ghostbusters from being made. But he kind of talks about, he's like, why would I restructure my deal? I made a lot of money off that deal, and I'm still making money off that deal. And I think the one thing Bill always said is, I don't want to do another Ghostbusters if it's not there creatively. I don't want to just do something that's going to feed the studio money without having a say in it, without lending artistic credibility to it and making nothing's ever going to live up to the first Ghostbusters, but at least doing something that he felt was worth doing. So maybe as he's aged and grown older and has lost people and has gained new perspective in life, maybe he's more open to doing it. Or maybe Sony came to him with a big payday and we're like, hey, we're doing this Ghostbusters movie and we want you to be a part of it. And he's like,
or maybe this script is something different and more artistic that he feels doesn't feel that this is just a payday, that is in line with some of the things we have heard already.
This doesn't feel like a payday. Having said that, Jason Reitman in his Instagram story was thanking the Funko headquarters for having him this weekend.
Dude, I respect that. Good. I'm like jealous of him.
Can I tell you guys something really funny that Chris Stewart said on Facebook? Somebody was like, well, they already have the likeness rights to Finn Wolfhard. And Chris Stewart just responded, likeness, with in quotation. Those Funko Pop likenesses.
That's so good.
Dude, we're going to get some new Ghostbusters Funko Pops. So, yeah, it's exciting, man. The news has been a little bit slow when it comes to the new movie, and this is a fit. I think last week or the week before that, I talked on the podcast about how nobody has asked Bill Murray whether or not he was going to do this movie. And now we have that comment. Obviously, every website in the world picked up on it, and some are being cool about it. Some are saying Ghostbusters 3 confirmed with Bill Murray, whatever. But yeah, it's cool. It's really exciting. It was cool to see that today.
Yeah, it was very cool. I was actually taking a nap this afternoon, and once you and I were talking, Craig, you were like, "Oh, wait a minute, you have no idea what's going on." That's when I watched the video and caught up on everything. So.
Well, I could have laughed, like, we were bombed. Atlanta's gone.
Oh, everyone's gone.
No. So, cool. One more thing of note before we get to this interview. I did want to let everybody know about Yes Have Some social media. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at YHS Podcast, and also our official website, yhspodcast.com. We've got our Facebook page as well as Facebook Group Therapy, which is the official discussion group. We mentioned it earlier here in this episode. Abigail, tell everybody how they can get...
Take me to group therapy. Well, all you have to do is log into Facebook, look for Yes Have Some Podcast, search for us, you'll find our page, scroll on down, you will see group therapy pop up, click it, ask to join, and one of the three of us will accept you. Hopefully it's me, because I like to keep my numbers up. I'm very competitive, and I love letting people in the group. Group therapy is thriving, and we're growing every day with new members. People post like quality shit in there, and I enjoy scrolling through it myself, so be one of those people. Join our little club, hang out, post stuff, freak out, watch our videos. It's super easy, and it's like a cool group. We are non-judgmental, and we try to keep it like, clear of dumb shit and keep the memes out. Unless they're memes of us.
Yes. Only YHS memes. So yeah, check out Group Therapy. Check us on Instagram, Twitter, and obviously the YouTube channel, which we've been plugging. So what we'll do is, since we're running a little bit long here, next week we'll pick back up on some Ghostbusters news. There's some further details about the new soundtrack release that is coming, but the official word is not out quite yet, so we don't want to jump the gun on it.
Okay.
But there is going to be a reissue of the original Ghostbusters score with a bunch of unreleased tracks on it. So we'll have details about that next week, and then. The rumor mill was started this week about the remastered version of the Ghostbusters video game.
Oh, the real third movie?
Yeah, the real third movie from 2009. A website, I think a Taiwanese website, has it listed for Xbox One. For those who don't know, if you've never played the Ghostbusters video game, or it's called Ghostbusters the video game, it's incredible. It's really... an awesome experience. You got all the original actors in there. It's a really great story. It's really well done. Came out 10 years ago. This is actually the 10th anniversary for it. And the rumor is that it's going to have a remastered like HD 4K edition. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen when they do this to a video game. It's really amazing. Like to think we could get that with the next gen updated graphics would be good. Mm-hmm. And Jake, I know you got a PS4 now, so you're probably like crossing your fingers on this one.
Yeah, I hope so. That game is really, really fun, and I was talking to someone about it very recently, and it made me want to go back and restart that game. So yeah, I hope this happens.
Cool.
And lastly,
I'm excited to watch Craig play the first level over and over again.
Quit.
Then quit.
I can't finish anything.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those people who can't finish anything. It was just announced like 5 seconds ago that the new Star Trek series with Patrick Stewart is officially called Picard, and they released the logo for it. Right. So that's not relevant to anything we're talking about. So listen, we got this.
I hope it's just like Solo.
Stop it.
Who's playing Picard?
I want to know how he got his gun, how he got his name. He's a pilot. All right.
Get over here, son. What's your name?
Captain.
Nobody ever gave me a name. All right. Well, let's pick one. Pick Picard.
Oh, God. Oh.
That's how
End scene. Perfect.
Then we'll learn how Riker got his name. So listen, we're going to get to this interview with John and Ryan. They're going to be talking about Georgie, the brand new short film that's going to be out June 10th exclusively through Fangoria. We definitely want everybody to check that out. It's a really great interview. Stay tuned for that. Abigail, Jake, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Dude, check that short film. Have a friend watch it with you because it's kind of scary. But I had a blast talking to John and Ryan, so looking forward to talking to them again.
Yeah, it was a great interview. I also hope that we learn why Picard likes Earl Grey tea.
Oh.
Because he's a man.
Because it's good.
I don't know. Does he like...
Is that like a...
I'm such a bad...
Explain it to us.
No, he drinks that throughout the show.
Yeah, he does.
Right?
He drinks... Yeah, he's like constantly drinking tea Earl Grey hot.
Right.
Well, there you have it.
There you go.
Abigail, anything else?
That's it. I just felt like Arya looking at the fucking hound in that meme that Ryan posted about how I'm always looking to Jake to confirm my questions.
Yeah.
That was very funny, and I liked it.
All right. Well, let's get on to the interview now. Here we go.
Do it.
For years, the film work of John Campopiano and Ryan Grulich have focused on telling stories about the hidden truths of pop culture. With their newest project, Georgie, they have now partnered with the star of the It miniseries, Tony Dakota, Georgie, to re-envision the unparalleled horror of Stephen King's most iconic story.
All right, everybody, welcome. Yes, Have Some podcast right now. Our special guests this evening, writers and directors of the new short film Georgie, based in the It universe, the original It universe, not the new one. I don't think. I'm going to ask them.
Yeah.
Out of the three of us, I'm the one who should not be talking about
agree.
this. Right. Jake, you want to do this
Jake is
intro?
probably most qualified.
Well, you've already done half of it.
Okay, cool.
You got the names ready. So.
I got their
doing
names
good.
ready. Okay, if I could just get through this, then we're home free.
Just get through it. It's the one with the clown.
Thank you. John Campopiano and Ryan Grulich, thank you for joining us. And I have to ask you, where are you joining us from?
Well, so this is John. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
Cool. John. And Ryan, where are you hailing from this evening?
This is Ryan, and I am in sunny Seattle, Washington.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Well, we're in Atlanta, so we've basically got most of the country covered. Mm-hmm. If we can just get somebody from I don't know, San Diego, we'll be set.
Yeah. Duluth, Minnesota. Right?
Yeah, that'd be good. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's talk about Georgie. I'm always interested to learn about these kinds of projects that are clearly like passion projects. I don't want to call this a fan film because it's a lot more than that. We all had the chance to watch it recently, and I really enjoyed it. So, John, if you want to start off, give us a little background on you and how you got involved with this Georgie project.
Sure. So back in 2017, I guess it was, I joined forces with Gary Smart and Chris Griffiths out in the UK. They run Dead Mouse Productions, and we started work on a documentary about the original miniseries, Stephen King's It. And sort of fast forward about well over a year after that, there were a handful of interviews that we still needed to get, basically people that were not based in Vancouver or Los Angeles or the UK or New York. And one of those was Tony Dakota, who played Georgie in the original miniseries, who is based not far from Ryan, near Seattle. And so I had put out just a sort of an open call on Facebook, any filmmakers in the Seattle area that could help us get this interview shot. And thankfully Ryan got in touch. And after he got the interview with Tony for us, one thing led to another, and we sort of birthed this idea to do a short with him, which is the long and short of it, basically. But
long and short.
Yeah.
I like that.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Like we're familiar with the documentary. I know you've been working on that, and we feel free to talk about that, or we can cover a little bit of that later. Going back, I guess, a little further for both of you guys, I know that Stephen King is a major influence on you guys. At least I assume. I know here at Yes Have Some, there's a lot of Stephen King talk. Did that start early on in life, or is it does it drive a lot of your creative projects?
I'll start. With King, I started reading King, I think at about 13 years of age. Started reading King and Lovecraft like right around the same time. So they're both really influential on me. And with It in particular, it does take a back seat to The Stand for me, but it is one of my favorite books ever and my second favorite King novel. And the miniseries was fantastic and really was something I just watched a lot of over and over again. The same with Mick Garris's version of The Stand. They're both just phenomenal and kind of came out around that same time and totally influenced, the love of horror. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was watching the miniseries on VHS today to kind of prep for this, which was very enjoyable.
You can say that any day of the week.
Yeah, I watched it last week on VHS too. So
I like how you say on VHS, like it's like.
Well, I'm like bragging.
Pop your collar, right?
Yeah, for real. I'm flexing.
I don't know if you want to try to brag about It VHS around John. John, how many copies of It do you have on VHS at this point?
All right, show me up.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I don't know,
All right.
like 35 or something like that.
So I was with him at his home. When we screened at the Boston Underground Film Festivals where we world premiered Georgie, and he was gracious enough to let me stay with him. And we were playing around in his media room, and the pano on an iPhone goes a long, long ways. I panoed his It collection in a linear line, right? Just a straight line. And it broke the pano. It couldn't go that far.
That's amazing.
He has that many copies of the movie.
Oh, dude.
It's nuts.
There's
It's
something...
global domination. I mean, once you start, you guys know. I've seen you
we know. Like,
you buy everyone up.
I know. It's like
yeah.
I'm like, so what's it like to be a collector? Like, of course I know what it's like. Like, our entire life is like buying ridiculous amounts of the same thing over and over with slight variations, or sometimes not. Like, there's not a VHS copy of Ghostbusters that I won't buy, even if I have like 5 of them. I'm just gonna keep buying it.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I can't possibly have somebody over here in good conscience and have them notice, like, well, where's the Bulgarian version of It? I mean, I'm just, I can't do that to people. So
because you can't have them leaving and talking bad about you and throwing you under the bus and all that.
No.
Right. Exactly.
So basically, like, I'm trying to think. Jake, you clued us in about the Georgie short. I guess maybe, has it been a year already? Like, you guys have been working on this for a while, right?
Yeah, quite a while. It's
close to a year. Yeah, I think we launched the Indiegogo was in August, Ryan, last August.
Yeah, I mean, we basically wrote the short and then launched the Indiegogo inside of like a 30-day period. I mean, it just happened really fast. And I think it was right around August. So we're getting close up onto a year. I put the color grading final render out 2 days ago. So it's almost a year since inception to completion.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Lots of man hours on this project.
Yeah. I feel like people don't quite understand the amount of time,
work, energy.
Energy. Keep giving me words. That is invested into a project like this. I mean, I guess the film's about somewhere between 7 and 9 minutes, but you could just tell
7 minutes 26 seconds. Yeah.
There you go. It's just in viewing it, there's just you could just see the dedication, and you guys are coming from like I don't know. When I watched it, then we could talk about this in more detail. It was way more like, it was very intriguing to watch, and and that's coming from me. I'm not like a giant It fan. I do like It. I haven't read it yet.
You're getting there.
But Jake, what was your first impression when you watched the short?
The thing to me that I like so much about it is how, like, it feels like so much of like a cerebral. I mean, it's like a nightmare. It's like having a nightmare, which I'm sure is what you were going for. But that's one of the best things, like to be able to do, a 7-minute short with basically no dialogue and to be creepy and weird. And it's just like, it's so different than what you usually see out of like fan films.
Yeah. Sure. And it fits within that original universe.
Which is a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was a big fan over here. John. We watched it together, all 3 of us, and it was very like chilling and had that dreamlike quality. Kind of like, I think psychedelic is a good word for it, to be like, it just takes you like you feel it. It's creepy as fuck, and then
no
scary
spoilers.
as fuck. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, so I recommend it to everybody.
Well, I think you kind of hit it, Jacob, when you said that, it without having dialogue, really. I mean, Ryan and I knew going into it that it was, all the visuals. I mean, we storyboarded the whole thing, and we knew that, it was going to be really important to convey whatever it is we were trying to convey visually with really no dialogue. And I think we kept referring to it as a fever dream when we were writing it. Like that's kind of the feeling that we were going for. Obviously, there's a lot of sort of King and It specific symbolism in there. Which we wanted, and was sort of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of wink to the fans that really, knew the book and knew the miniseries. But back to your original question. I mean, I don't know that I so much thought of it as being in the It 1990 universe versus like the It 2017 universe. I mean, at least for me, I won't speak for Ryan.
Interesting, yeah.
I mean, obviously you have Tony in there, and then you've got Ben, kind of bookending the piece. So, I mean, it's drenched with 1990s nostalgia in that way. But But I think we just sort of saw it or I did, as being just sort of in the universe of it.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because I was thinking about this the other day. We had never really spoken about that, and somebody asked me where chronologically it fit, and I had always kind of had in my mind that the story is essentially taking place in between the two chapters, and that the consumption of Sharon Denbrough, or the whole fever dream pitch where everything kind of goes in this film, is really just Pennywise's return, because both of the characters that are featured, Tony and Ben, Stan and Georgie, respectively, are dead.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's where it got kind of interesting chronologically. But I placed it in between the two.
Well, and especially in like promoting it. I mean, bless the fans. I mean, ultimately we do a lot of this stuff for people that are like us and enjoy it. But it's like, I can't tell you after we launched the Indiegogo how many messages I got from people that were like, they seemed kind of irate. Like they were really angry. They were like, but Georgie's dead. Like, how could this?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I can't believe fans were just freaking out like that without any context.
They knew the material more. Oh my God.
Well, it's an iconic character. It's someone that people feel very attached to. And I think we were conscientious of that in the writing process and in the development process, because when I first started thumbing around on ideas for this, the possibilities were pretty limited, in that if Georgie is to somehow come back, does he come back with one arm limping in for Thanksgiving dinner and it's a black comedy, and or is it some sort of time travel thing, which is kind of the only way to get dead people back. And in the end, this sort of art house, sort of psychedelic fever dream, as we were trying to kind of point at, was really the best vehicle by which to have some authenticity and not have it seem canned or cheesy. And I think that we established that pretty quick up front in the short, and that it plays pretty well. So it's weird, but people were definitely not necessarily psyched. There was a comment that I remember reading. I think John and I were talking about this, but it was just like, there was an image where Georgie's in grayscale that was posted publicly, and somebody goes, "What's that? The Silver Surfer?" And it was just like, you get these guys like really just ripping into you. And so a couple things too, fan film. I don't take offense to that. And the reason is, if you look back in horror, the fan literature, fan fiction, now fan film, is a real thing. And if you're into Lovecraft at all, you'll know that his mythos was developed and expanded upon by writers, then and now. And I think King will go into that same space. And I think that it all goes back to like Sherlock Holmes, where people were, adapting and integrating his characters into their own narratives and stuff like that. And so there's a long tradition of people doing what we're doing. And to give it the label fan film's totally fine by me. I think it stands on its own as a kind of a cool, visual experience. And then to the psychedelic nature of it, my goal when we went in to shoot it was, let's make it so that if somebody accidentally ate a brownie full of marijuana and then watch this, that they would be totally regretting that experience.
Right, exactly.
Like this was that's bad
all we
idea.
To do.
Yes.
It's interesting that you bring up the Lovecraft thing, because we Stephen King is a figure, a pop culture figure, and a novelist, obviously, who we've been with our whole life, and hopefully we'll be here, for a long time,
forever and ever.
But it's almost like that Walt Disney thing, or I never lived at a time where Walt Disney lived, so therefore he is a mythical kind of person to me. And I kind of think of sometimes modern people, maybe like Stephen King or George Lucas or even Steven Spielberg, creators who, 50 or 100 years from now, their works will be expanded on in different ways. Basically, like you were just saying. And
Lucas is another living example, though. Lucas's work is being. I mean, these kids that grew up watching. These kids that grew up watching A New Hope are making the new Star Wars movies.
Right.
So it's part of it.
Yeah, it is part of it, and I think it's really cool because now, with the ability to create your own media without major distribution channels or whatever, the old adage of like with bands, you don't really need a major label today to become a successful musical act. You just need to have the ability to create and
so much more freedom for creativity and passion. So that's awesome that you guys are like taking advantage of that and putting
this amount of work into it. I wanted to go back to Tony Dakota. What was his initial reaction when you approached him to do this? I mean, you said that you were getting him for interviews for the documentary. At what point did the conversation turn to doing something more with him?
Well, if I remember correctly, and jump in there, Ryan. Yeah, I mean, I remember. I think Ryan and I both sort of independently of one another had the idea to like maybe do something else with Tony after his interview for the documentary. And so Ryan and I talked about it for a little while before I approached Tony. And when I did approach Tony, he was all for it. I mean, the genesis of this was really that Tony hasn't really acted in 25 years. And in interviewing him for the documentary, we sort of broached the subject of, well, would you have an interest in maybe getting back in front of the camera in some capacity? And he said, absolutely. So Ryan and I were kind of eager to give him that opportunity to do something creative and fun and constructive.
Eager is an understatement. It was so exhilarating to hear him say that. And I just want to go on to add one thing just in case it gets missed. For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, and for those who have, he doesn't show that he hasn't been on camera in 25 years. And I've worked with a lot of like stage talent and screen talent. He really kills it in this film. He's so present. And you go to the dialogue comment about it being difficult to tell a story that's super accurate. And dialogue's essentially a crutch that we use to tell a story and move it along. But he just like sells, that character so well. I just am so happy that he agreed to do it.
Yes, I agree. Chilling performance.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a cat.
We had a cat at the window that we just had to deal with. We're really
I had a cat at the window. Sorry.
Did you pet it?
Then we opened the window.
Yeah, no. Kitty. No, that's cool, and it's cool that you talk about giving him the opportunity to do something that he hasn't done in 25 years that he probably maybe has wanted to do or didn't have the avenue to explore doing it. So what was the timeline between those conversations and ramping up the writing and launching the Indiegogo? Was it a pretty quick turnaround?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I would say it was. Basically, we launched our Indiegogo in August. There was already, into the third, fourth draft of the script, and we shot November 9, 10, 11 of 2018 here in Seattle. And it was all pretty quick, but it should be for a short. It's not absurd for a short film to turn around that quickly, but there were a lot of moving pieces on this one, and it was a fairly complicated project technically. So yeah, it was pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm actually just going through some of my old emails now between Ryan and I from those early days, and we really started hammering out the script like around the middle of June.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I seem to remember we spent a lot of the summer sort of talking to Tony and working on the script and just hammering all that stuff out and getting ready to shoot, and obviously launching the Indiegogo and promoting that and all that stuff. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So once you guys launched the Indiegogo, I think you put out did you do like a teaser trailer or some concept art to kind of like drum up interest?
Yeah, both. The teaser trailer was great. My partner in crime and one of my best friends, Josh Wells, was Georgie. It wasn't Tony Dakota. He pulls it off though, and the interesting thing is that he hates being on camera. Like he's a DP by nature.
Okay.
So we ended up having to DP for him as he got up and played the role because he was the only person that could fold a paper boat super well.
Oh my God.
And then in the end, just to kind of, I heard you cuss earlier, so I'll use a cuss word just to be a dick. We cut the close up of him doing the paper boat out so that you only see the boat at the end. You just see the finished product. So it's just this total gag reel. And why I'm not supposed to cuss is because I forgot we were doing this podcast and I just randomly pulled over and I am in front of a huge Virgin Mary and baby Jesus in some sort of nave in a Catholic parking lot.
Oh.
So yeah,
what's a
doing
Catholic parking lot? Oh, is it a church?
Yes.
I was just
I don't know. I'm not religious.
For their sake, maybe.
That's really
we
fun.
like our cusses here at Yes Have Some.
I do like the idea of religious themed parking lots, like when you go to Universal Studios, and it's like you're at the King
Mormon
Kong
lot.
lot or the Jaws lot.
Oh my god!
I wonder. There's like
Scientology lots, kind of nice.
There's that
There would
like
be no road rage in a Quaker parking lot.
Right,
That's
right.
why.
Dude, that's where I'm parking.
there's like that.
Like, I don't know about you guys. I'm parked in Hindu.
That's fun. Yeah, it's really peaceful.
So anyway, yeah, the teaser was fun to shoot, and it was, it was very exploratory because you had very minor threads of the story available at that point. We knew there was a man, we knew there was a boat. Some of this stuff was pretty abstract as you've watched from the film. It really is kind of like art house, but not. And so we knew that without investing serious amounts of time in an art house film, every shot, in theory, unless it's totally random, is composed with a lot of patience. So the primary interiors of the short film were shot in 26 hours straight. We shot for 26 hours straight and shot the primary interiors of what you see on that. And it was just a lot of like painstaking shots. But with the teaser, we just kind of had to knock something out to be like, hey, we're making a movie. We know how to make movies. And, we need something quick. So that was really what that was. And the concept art, John, do you want to speak to that? You were really involved with that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so we got in touch with a guy, Jacob knows him. Maybe you guys all know, Zachary Jackson Brown, who does some really killer, like horror movie themed artwork. And we licensed one of his It pieces for the Blu-ray artwork for the documentary. And really nice guy, really down to earth, really talented, really fast. And so I knew pretty early on that he would be great to collaborate with on some concept art for Georgie. And he was all of that and more. He was really great to work with. And we kicked around a lot of ideas for the poster and ended up going with the skeletal Georgie holding the boat and the balloons behind him. And I think it's pretty eye-catching. It made for a really killer in, which was one of the perks that we put together for the Indiegogo. So I'm pretty pleased with it.
That's a great piece of art.
Yeah, that was a great piece of art. There was another one that he did that we really waffled on, and it was basically very like, it was Hamlet basically, where he's holding Horatio's skull, but it's Pennywise's hand coming up with the white glove and Georgie's skull in his hand. And I like want to get that tattooed. I like want to email and be like, can I get that tattooed?
That's such a cool idea. Yeah.
But it ended up playing where the image that he and John worked out with the paper boat and stuff, I think is way more iconic. But again, I think that the production value on this, for being and I'm using finger quotes, like being a fan film, being a short, the production value is incredibly high, and it's got a lot of thought behind all the little pieces, and that's what's so fun about it to me.
Yeah, there's something else I wanted to I guess I guess it's not really a spoiler, but if this is something you guys don't want us to talk about, we can cut it out. But I wonder if you guys want to talk about the animation sequence.
Yeah, I don't mind it being discussed. John, do you?
No, not at all. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Shoot. Cool. What was your question?
Yeah. No, I just mean like, was that something you guys wanted to do from the start, or was it one of those things where you're like, you knew somebody and you're like, hey, we can do this. Why not do it? Because that's such a fun little piece of the film, and it's also like, it's impressive. It looks so good, It's also risky because if it doesn't, because it works.
It fails.
But if it does, like there's this thing they do in a lot of documentaries now where they'll kind of fill in the pieces of missing footage with like animated sequences, and sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's like, I think a still image would have been better. Would have been fine.
Yeah.
So the cut to 2D on this was really interesting. The scene that leads right up to it, you'll notice some cutting back and forth that's really intense and kind of moving a character around. We'll save that spoiler, but the character's kind of moving around the space. And then it cuts into 2D. And that animation came because I was really struggling with how to sell what in my vision of Pennywise really is that he's like this extra dimensional trickster god. And that there's some Jungian symbolism that I tried to throw into this piece. There's some just straight up, kind of magical symbolism that I tried to throw into this piece. And the Jungian piece really has to do with this kind of trickster god where he's kind of moving around, and then the relationship with the mother. And excuse me. And so when it cuts to 2D, that was totally an afterthought. That was not planned. I was on the freeway venting and just kvetching with John and saying, why can't this work? I really don't like it. And what was the movie you recommended watching, John?
Well, you were driving and we were kicking around ideas for scene 12. Like we just felt like we needed something, like it needed something. And then we mentioned, I don't know, I think I said
movie,
animated sequence. And then I thought about this VHS tape I used to watch as a kid called Scuffy the Tugboat, which
that's right.
And
That's
so I was
right.
like, and what about Scuffy the Tugboat? And then like, I don't know if he had like, I thought maybe he had driven off the road or something like
oh, that was fun. Yeah.
And so that the kind of the concept of like that style animation, like picture book kid movie.
Disney.
Yeah,
it was very Disneyfied, and that really struck a nerve with me because I'm a huge Disney nerd. I actually like did a documentary on the Haunted Mansion at Disney, and like you're starting to talk about Walt. I'm a huge fan of Walt, and I'm a huge Disney nerd, and I love 2D animation, especially hand drawn. And so this stuff, he just really nailed it, and then took the idea, and it was one of those situations where you know somebody, and all the credit in the world to the gentleman Justice Biggert in Olympia, Washington, who is an animator by trade and FX guy. And he knocked that 30-second piece out, took him about 30 days, and got a couple of reviews on it. We had to make one cut, which I still waffle with, which is there was an umbilical cord. Again, going back to the Jungian symbolism, there was an umbilical cord that's connecting them. In his original renditions of the animatic, just kind of the bookend pieces of the frame, he had really expanded on it and made it super gory and stuff. And we turned away from it. And in hindsight, I'm sure it was a smart move for accessibility. But it was actually a lot darker up front with his first touch.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of made it a little bit more accessible and I would say a little bit more Disneyfied.
Yeah.
Which in the end, the animation plays super well. Your comment about it failing is really, those sequences, where they really fail is when you come in and out of live action. And so if you look at the sequence, in the front and in the end, everything is mirrored. So the proportions are mirrored. Took a lot of work to get that right. So we fade in and out of reality pretty well. And I think that that is like the most awesome part of the movie, to be honest. I think that's the coolest thing.
Right.
So I've got two thoughts. One, Abby's on eBay right now looking at Scuffy the Tugboat.
Yeah, it's a little golden book. I used to have it. Dude, yes. I would get that tattoo. Also, I want to see your Snyder cut of like the darker version really bad.
Snyder cut.
Snyder cut.
Yeah.
That's going to go down in
Can you
his.
please
It
release
is
it?
now to release the darker version of something is a Snyder cut.
Yes.
Well, I will gladly ship you the animatic.
Yeah.
If you'd like to, if you would like to see it, I will gladly ship you the animatic in which that frame exists. You can find me on Instagram. I'm not saying it's aliens.
Okay.
You can find me on Instagram and send me a thing.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I think people are going to be really impressed by that. I know when we watched it, like there's those moments when you're viewing something, especially like anytime something's done. I watch something with a different kind of critical eye when when you're a little bit closer to it and you know the people or you know that their fans are doing this as a passion project. And I was really impressed. I'm glad Jake brought up the animated sequence because it was really cool. It was different. I think people are going to really like that. Speaking of people, so you guys did the Indiegogo. You went to work. You made this really, really awesome short. And now you're prepping release. So what does that look like? How are people going to be seeing this once it's out for the public to view?
John?
Yeah, so it's been playing. I guess it had its first official public screening at the Boston Underground Film Festival back in March. And it's been making the festival rounds. It's got a few more coming up, and we still have to wait to hear about a few more for later this summer. But the folks at Fangoria are going to give it a digital premiere on June 10th. It's going to be available on their social media platforms for, I think we agreed on 48 hours. People will be able to check it out there. And then soon thereafter, the plan is to make it as widely available and as easily available to as many people as we can.
That's awesome. Cool. That's so cool. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like when you get to this part of it, of the process. I'm sure you guys know if you're filmmakers, a lot of these projects, A, never get off the ground, B, crash and burn halfway through, or C, you get to the end, but there's no distribution and nobody see. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of ways that it can become frustrating as a creator. So the fact that you guys are gonna get like Fangoria to premiere it, like that's
crazy
amazing.
is that,
That's
right?
amazing.
Yeah,
it's a big
it
thing.
is.
Like, I was trying to think of
that's
a
a
comparison,
fever
but I
dream in
can't.
and of itself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we got Tony Dakota. We got Ben Hiller. Oh, and we got Fangoria.
Yeah, check.
It was pretty surreal, and I think what's really cool about that is not only is it cool for us, which it most definitely is, and we're super grateful, but what I see there, again, going back to that mythos and that whole Lovecraftiana, sort of thing, is that there's a scaffolding by which other people like us, if the content merits the attention or whatever, you'll probably start to see that more and more. And I think that John and I both have been in this kind of like pop culture exploration around different things, horror things and Disney things and all this kind of stuff. And there's kind of been this fan doc or film wave that he and I both have been writing. And so I think we get it a little bit, from that experience. And I think that you will see a time in which people are able to exhibit those sorts of projects on a larger stage because of the democratization of technology and the access that people have to media through, publishing companies and their websites like Fangoria. But Fangoria, that was nuts. It was just like, you read Fangoria when you're a kid. I'm 36 now. And I've been reading Fangoria since, that was probably one of the first magazines that I ever read. Definitely the first trade magazine I ever read.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Validation right there, man.
And then, and you mentioned there are, in the world of fan films, especially in horror, like there's always they've existed for a long time, but they're getting better, and there's more interesting takes. Like there's a million ways that you could have done something with it, and it could have been kind of like, maybe what somebody would expect. And I think if I was going to tell anybody to watch this, I would say, it's not what you maybe think.
Don't eat a brownie first.
Yeah, don't eat a brownie.
Please eat a brownie first.
Actually,
and then wait about an hour and a half and eat another one because it isn't kicking in.
But it's like, go for it, Jake.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is kind of a little bit like what we were speaking to earlier with just the whole thing of this film is that you were mentioning how, there's kind of all these, you didn't want to just like completely cement it in original film, new film, book or whatever. But like the thing that's really cool to me is that like when you read it, there's so many instances in that book where Pennywise is like kind of playing tricks on people, or things happen and those people aren't sure those things just happened for real, or and that's exactly what this film is. Like it could be taken out of any of those 100 instances in that book.
That's super high praise.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that. And that was the intention. And I love every adaptation that is out there. Like I enjoy them all. And that is the one piece of his character that I wanted to key in on that I've always felt like could be expanded upon more. So I'm glad that came across.
Yeah, and we were having a conversation last week on the podcast about the trailer for the new movie. And I had kind of brought up, obviously the first one from 2017 was extremely successful financially and critically. I imagine if the second one does as well, that I just don't see Warner Brothers not trying to take it further. That could be a horrible idea. But just speaking to the fact that it's a very big book, and there's a lot of probably there's gaps that can be filled from folks like you, and then also the ones the Warner Brothers, the WB.
I've always sort of thought that it would do really well as like an extended like 10-part series, limited series. I mean, there's another
for sure.
I mean, when we were interviewing Larry D. Cohen, the screenwriter for the miniseries, he was talking about how he and George Romero, who was slated to direct originally before Tommy Lee Wallace, their intention was to do something of that scale, but I think that studios just didn't get it back in '89. I mean, the Breaking Bads and the Game of Thrones and stuff obviously weren't a thing yet. So it went from like 6 parts to 5 parts to 4 parts to 3 parts. And then I think by the time it got so skinny, Romero bailed. But Larry was saying that like if he could do it again, he would push for it to be this epic, maybe 10, 12 part series.
And he'd probably get it.
Oh, of course he
yeah.
did.
That's what the story needs. Yeah.
And it's really interesting that you say that because, and it all kind of dovetails here with this conversation because Josh Boone is now redoing The Stand. And Josh Boone is exactly, heavy fan, heavy commentator, heavy, observer of, how film works and how stories work. And he's a reader and stuff. And I really am excited to see what he does with The Stand. And I think that is potentially a door to other people, working in the King idiom. And I think you will see, I think you will see King become Lovecraft-ish in that regard. And it's going to be, really prevalent for the next probably quite a while. Yeah. And as far as its success, it's kind of tough to stop a moving train. They've just got all of the right pieces in place. And I wish them all the success. The first film was great.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of I was listening. Stephen King was on he was on Mick Garris's podcast recently, and something he mentions is that he gets asked what he thinks of multiple interpretations of his work, and the thing that he kind of says is that it's like Shakespeare, do it as many times as you want in as many different ways as you want forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
I love that
Exactly.
Stephen King's
Down
like,
with
listen, when it comes to my work, it's like Shakespeare.
It's Shakespeare.
It's exactly like Shakespeare.
Dude, it's true. Yes.
So cool. So you guys will have the release, and everybody will get a chance to see it. When that happens, we will promote it and we will push it and we will encourage everybody to check it out. What a couple more questions if you guys have a few minutes.
Yeah.
Were you able to share the short with some of the original cast beyond the folks that appeared in it? And have you gotten some like feedback or react? Obviously, is there a way for Stephen King to watch it? Like, how does that go for you guys?
It's a John question.
Well, I've held off on sending it to King's people and to him just because I'd rather it be under the banner of Fangoria and have it be the graded. We only just got the graded cut somewhat recently, so I've sort of been holding back on that. The other kids from the miniseries have seen it, maybe with the exception of a couple, and everybody thinks it's great. Ben Heller was so supportive and so eager to participate and was really excited, and he loves how it turned out. I did send.
We love Ben Heller, by the way.
Oh, Ben Heller is like the greatest human being on the planet.
That's
he
real.
He is the nicest dude I think I've ever met. Thank you, John. But he's such a like pleasure to hang out with. Yeah.
He's a wonderful human being. Yeah. And Emily Perkins has seen it. I sent it to her. And Andy Muschietti, I sent it to him as well, not to name drop, but he checked it out and he thought it was awesome and loved to see it.
Very cool.
Yeah, nice. You can name drop. We respect
we
that.
love name dropping. I think the people who know, like, I if anybody's even remotely known, like, if I run into like
It's getting dropped.
the local weather person, I'm like calling my friends. So.
Did you guys see Steve McCreeble at the thing? I did.
Send Steve McCreeble, Georgie, and let us know. I'm curious, but
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the response has been, it's been great. People are excited. And I think once it's out, it'll be a little easier to sort of just like canvas our contacts and I'd like to send it to some of the adult cast members from the miniseries and stuff like that. So
sure. Cool. Yeah. We want people to at least get a chance to see it because 48 hours is a short run on Fangoria, but it's still presence. And I think a lot of industry people are looking at it. It'll be tough to find a forever home for this that isn't Vimeo or YouTube. It'll be tough to put it behind a paywall because it's IP, concerns and stuff. And we're totally cognizant of that. And we're not trying to make any money off of it, but we would like to find a good forever home where it can, be viewed. And I think that, the idea of Stephen King seeing the short has always been in the back of my mind while I've been working on it. And just wanting to make sure that he,
Well, he's got to have 7 minutes. He sits there and watches baseball every night of the year.
Makes his,
he's
microwave
got
meal.
10 minutes to spare. No,
hey, we're no Red Sox, man. We're no Red Sox.
And what I would love to see, like, as soon as it was done, I was like, well, I want to see more from this type of interpretation.
Yeah.
So maybe, like, you guys could do, like, a follow-up or something like that. down the road.
I'd like to get Mrs. Kirsch like in the grocery store.
Ooh, I'd be down for that.
In the grocery store.
Yeah,
Getting that muddy tea. I like it.
I'm totally open to it. I mean, I think Georgie, it all kind of came together at the right time. I mean, I think Georgie wasn't going to happen unless it sort of happened when it did, and the things
how it did.
The way how it did. And putting Tony in part of the Tim Curry Pennywise suit from the miniseries was great. I think that had a part in him wanting to do it. He thought that was kind of cool, and so I think it really kind of coalesced at the right moment. So, I think if something presented itself in a natural way and didn't feel forced and we were excited about doing it, I'm sure, Ryan and I would consider it, right?
I would definitely remake Maximum Overdrive in an art house Lynchian Northwest specialty.
Yes, I like that.
On board.
Yeah. Oh, Jake, I don't know. Jake, did you watch the new episode of or the new season of Twin Peaks? Did you watch that?
I did not.
No, you guys did.
To.
Yeah,
I missed it.
Just
season 3, episode 8.
Yes, that's what I was going to bring up. Like, I feel like season 3, episode 8.
Got a light.
Yeah, it's going to inspire like
that's what I was thinking
whole
of.
generation of interesting filmmaking. Like,
it's a formative moment, right?
I heard that they're doing like theatrical screenings now of that.
Yeah, they are. And there's actually here in the Seattle area, obviously we're pretty soaked in Twin Peaks and all that.
Yeah.
And I was at a film festival last year that some guys from New York put on out here, ironically, but they had all of these art house films that either informed Lynch or were informed by Lynch. And there were a couple that were really standouts. And the interesting thing about art house film is that it's really not accessible. And I think that what Lynch did with that particular episode, because he had the money and because he had the name and obviously the skill, was to be able to make a piece of art house cinema that played to a wide audience, which is incredibly difficult to do. And I mean, that's masterwork right there.
Yeah,
that's great 90 minutes or 60 minutes or however long it is.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to revisit that at some point. Well, so before we let you go, John, I wanted to ask you the documentary. I know you mentioned it, and we've gotten questions about it. Is there any kind of like release date, or is that still kind of TBD?
Yeah, I mean, a hard date is TBD. It's going to be this year for sure.
Cool.
Nice.
We're making really good progress. I think I'm working on like the 4th draft of the script right now, and it's pretty close to sort of being locked from a narrative perspective. And then there's all the other bells and whistles and stuff. But no, it's going to be this year for sure. And I think we'll have a hard date by the summer to be able to share with people. So
that's
soon.
awesome.
Tight.
Yeah, there's a making of Ghostbusters documentary. We're big Ghostbusters fans, as you probably know. And it's called Cleaning Up the Town. And the teaser trailer dropped in 2010. And
oh, dear.
They just locked in. It's actually premiering this weekend at Cannes. I believe the pronounce is Cannes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, and we've met, and it's again, that's a passion project. They've literally been working on it for a decade. So it's not lost on us on how much work and how hard it is to put this stuff together. So
that's phenomenal, though.
Definitely the work, but it's also like on top of that, it's like most of us have day jobs too.
That's the other
respect
thing.
Again.
And we've got like spouses, and we've got lives and family, and so it's.
We've got cats.
I think that's kind of like, and a cat and boglins that I play with regularly. So it's like fitness. I have boglin mouths to feed too. So, but it's it's like to what you were saying early on. It's like I think some people don't realize that like kind of what goes in. Not to just making it, but also like juggling that time and finding the time and kind of having the discipline to like really just do it and see it to the finish line, so. Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, where can folks find you both on social media and maybe the official site or anything for the, plug it up. Plug it up.
Go, John. Go,
plug
John.
Up, Ryan. Get plugged.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I'm not the greatest plugger. I'm a little awkward in the plugging department, but you can follow my company Creepy Kingdom at Creepy Kingdom, and we're on all of the things. I don't run them, but I know that's the at Creepy Kingdom is what I'm supposed to say.
Cool.
And that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. It's on Instagram and basically Facebook. I don't do much with Twitter. You can find me on LiveJournal, writing about how my day has been going. But mostly Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
I love that. I wish more people had live journals.
I have a secret live journal that I still update.
I don't actually have it. Yeah.
Okay.
I was starting to respect you more.
With you and then you
I know. I was like, what the fuck? I was going to give you my password.
We already bonded over Scuffy, so it's
yeah, it's cool.
Met a guy who likes Scuffy today. Yeah, kind of cute.
Yeah.
I don't know.
right.
Doing it.
Right. Might blog about it.
Might blog.
Yeah. But I guess before we wrap up, I will say that Ryan and I are starting to work on another project together that has been
we're talking about
momentum.
Woo.
Yeah.
Cool little tease.
So not to tease, but
can we say anything about it?
What's that, Ryan?
I have one component of this that incredibly excites me. If you're willing to share somebody that's come on board with it.
Hmm?
Oh yeah. So we're working, Ryan and I. So we're working on a new short film, and Timothy Clark, who is a creature designer, puppeteer, has come on board as a creative producer. Timothy's background is he worked with Jim Henson back in the day, and he also did monster making for The Dark Crystal. He also worked on Fraggle Rock.
Cool.
And
so he did Uncle Traveling Matt on Fraggle Rock, and he did the Mystics in The Dark Crystal. He did the design for those.
Oh, word. Those are sick. Okay, very cool.
He's co-creator of Sectors and Boglins. And really,
Sectors!
Whoa.
Yeah. So he's working with us on this new project that I'm putting together, and really excited about it. And we'll see where it goes, but maybe we can come back on later in the year and talk about it.
We'll bring Daniel Day-Lewis. We'll bring Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Puppets.
You guys are literally more than welcome to
anytime
come on the show, take over. I don't care.
Yeah, well, you guys can do our horror episodes for October for us.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. We'll do some horror breakdowns because I want to learn more about just some general fandom stuff and like what you guys collect and basically what you salivate over at the antique stores.
I want to see those VHS tapes.
Those two.
Oh my god! I will send them to you. Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Cool dudes.
All right, guys. Well, John, Ryan, thank you so much. We will catch up down the road. Everybody go check out Georgie. June 10th, is that the date for Fangoria?
That's the date.
That's going to be good. A lot of people are going to see it. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cool. Thanks, y'all.